So I've been lurking in the game dev scene for a while. There's one thing you always hear, and that's to just make games. Hey, just make a game. Just make games. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make a game. Hey, my name's Dravain, but you can call me Dre. And I entered a game jam with zero experience. I've always wanted to make games since I was a child, but I've never really sat down and actually learned how to do it. So naturally, I decided I should just enter a bunch of game jams over and over until I'm able to make good games. So this is attempt number 1. So if you clicked on this video, you probably know what a game jam is, but just in case, a game jam is a competition where you're given a theme and a time limit. And with that, you're tasked with making a video game. Now these jams can vary in length from an hour to multiple months long. They can have a specific genre you need to meet or no genre at all. It really just depends. The jam I'm entering though is the Wild Jam, and this is number 76. They do these on the second Friday of every month and they last 9 days. The way this jam works is they have a main theme and then they have 3 wild cards that you can add into your game as well for little bonus points, a little gold star, pat on the back type of thing. They say it doesn't really affect your score in the final ratings, but if I was a judge. So this time around in the jam, the main theme is Freeze, and this is accompanied by the wild cards Silent Night, UI is Real, and Advent Calendar. So with the main theme being Freeze, and with the wild cards like Silent Night and Advent Calendar, there's some obvious implications on what you could do with the game. Something with snow, ice, Christmas maybe, but I didn't really want to go that way. I wanted to do something different. So instead of the snowy, happy, holiday game, I decided to make a horror game. I interpreted Freeze as in don't move, and then Silent Night as silence, obviously. So you gotta be silent and not move to avoid something. Now, I bounced around a bunch of ideas on what the setting of the horror game should be, but eventually I settled on like a dark, spooky, scary forest. And then in this forest, there's this mangled, nasty, like monstrous animal who's also blind, and he's trying to find you and kill you in the forest. So that's what I went with. So I had some ideas on what the animal could be, maybe like a wolf or a bear. But then I saw this video of this guy getting like assaulted by a moose in the forest. And I was like, holy shit. Mice are scary as fuck. They're like 6 feet tall on all fours. And then I just thought, imagine if one of those was like on all fours and it was just like tall and it was just moving at you in the darkness and it was all scary. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go with that. So that's what I did. So I wanted my game to have a nice little vibe, a little reason why you're in the forest. So I came up with this. You and your friend are in the forest because you guys went camping, and you're sitting around the campfire just chilling, and then your friend's like, hey bro, I really gotta go to the bathroom. And then you're like, okay bro, have fun, man. And then you go back to chilling by the campfire until you look in the bushes and you see this monstrosity 10 feet tall creature staring at you. And obviously your first reaction is like, fuck that, we got to get out of here. So you look for the keys, and then boom, your friend has the keys, and you're like, damn, I gotta go find him at the bathroom. So you walk on over to the bathroom. Mind you, there's a demon in the forest. Walk into the bathroom, you get to the bathroom, boom, your friend's there, dead. And you're like, damn, that sucks. So grab his keys, and then you gotta walk on to the parking lot to your car, and then you got to get out of there. But yeah, all the while, there's this creature coming at you. It's very scary. It's got a nice vibe. It's a short little game. I can do this, right? So I decided to go with Godot for this project because I heard that's what all the cool indie devs are using. So I boot up Godot, start a new project, and I followed this tutorial on getting a 3D player controller going. And as you can see, it's pretty cool. I can move around, I can run, I can sprint, I can jump. And this took me like maybe an hour, and I was feeling pretty good at this point. I was like, this is basically a full game, right? Like, what else is there to do? And I was like, it's only day 1, like hour 2, I'm ready to go. So now that I had the basic player movement down, I needed the enemy. So I plopped down this little red capsule guy, and I followed this tutorial on how to set up a like navigation system so that he'll actually, chase me and try to kill me and stuff. And as you can see, I got it working. It's pretty cool. He follows you around the boxes, and it's nice, but he's not really scary right now. So in order to make him scary, I decided it's time to give him some shape, give him a model. So I hop into Blender, and let me tell you, 3D modeling is hard as fuck. I did a tutorial before this on the basics of Blender, so it wasn't completely foreign and crazy, but I just didn't understand how to make it look like a moose. I don't know. It was really hard. I spent like 6 hours doing this, and eventually I was left with this. As you can see, it's not that impressive. It vaguely resembles a moose, but I'm proud of it. I made it. It's awesome. So now that I had my moose model and its animations, it was time to put them into Godot. I found some tutorials on how to import Blender stuff into Godot, so I followed that, plop them down into the game, boot it up, and we're left with this. As you can see, he's T-posing and he's backwards. And as scary as that is, we have to fix that. I hop back into Blender, flip him around, and then I attach the walking animation so that whenever he's walking. And now we have this. And honestly, pleasantly surprised with this. I thought it would look a lot more silly than it does. And it does still look silly, I know. But we got something here. So right now we have the moose kind of just walking towards the player no matter where they're at. And I needed to add some actual behavior that resembles a blind moose. To do this, I had the idea of the moose will patrol around the map to fixed points randomly, or maybe in a loop, something like that. And then if the player makes noise near the moose will like go to where the noise is, search around. If it finds a player, murders them. If not, it goes back to patrolling. The first thing I did was give it the patrol logic. I put a bunch of points around and just made the moose walk towards those in order, and it looked pretty alright. So the next thing I need to do is make it so the player is actually making noise. And we're not actually going to make noise, we're just going to emit a circle of a certain radius, and if the moose is within that radius, he's alerted and he comes and he kills. I made this little top-down camera just so I could kind of see what the noise is, and as you can see you can see the circle changes based on whether you're crouching, sprinting, walking, or not moving at all. So now I needed the moose to be alerted if it's in the radius of the player's noise. So I did that, and then once the moose is alerted, it comes and searches around the player. The way this searching works is it creates kind of a donut ring around the player, and it will randomly search all around that ring, and then if the player makes noise while it's over there, it'll kill. If not, it'll go back to patrolling. So now that I have the basic behavior of my moose down and the player, I wanted to put it in a level, which means it's time to go back in the Blender. Now, this time around in Blender, didn't go so well. I learned about Blender's geometry nodes, and I was trying to use that to make some sort of terrain. It took forever. I couldn't really get it how I wanted it to look, and I ended up giving up after a while and settling on something that was just okay. After I made that terrain, I wanted to make some objects to put in the level, so I made a tent, a bathroom, and a parking lot with these cool little street lights. I like those. So I couldn't figure out how to texture all the objects I made, so I figured I would just do that later because I was running out of time and I was like, I gotta get moving. So before, with the terrain, I wasn't quite happy with how it was, and the next morning I decided that it would be a good idea just to scrap all the work that I did the previous night and do it all over again. It wasn't a good idea. I found this Godot plugin that basically lets you paint on the terrain, which was really nice, and I should have just done this from the get-go. It would have saved me a lot of time, but here we are. So I create my terrain with this right in Godot, and then I plop down all my objects. So now I have my terrain and my little objects spread around. I needed the forest, which means I needed a 3D model for the trees, which means, you guessed it, more Blender. So I find a tutorial on how to make a tree. I whip up a little tree. It doesn't look very good, but whatever. And I plop it down into Godot, and immediately I met with like a bajillion meshes, like just scroll. It was so many meshes, and I was just, my immediate thought was, is this gonna be laggy? I don't know. And I was a little worried about it. So I scrapped that tree and I went to searching. Eventually I found this cool plugin for Godot that lets you scatter meshes or objects along another surface, and it worked out really well. It even came with a default tree model that I just used. And now, as you can see, I have a full, lush, spooky forest that I could put my moose into. So things were really coming together. You know, I had a forest, I had some objects, I had a player, I had a moose, everything, right? But it was a little too bright, a little too cheery, a little too happy in my forest. So it was time to make it dark and scary. So I learned a little bit about the Godot environment system, and I just turned the lights all the way down. I made it dark, added a little bit of fog, and then I gave the player a flashlight. and it was looking pretty spooky. Additionally, I also forgot I did this when I was modeling the moose. I gave the moose like glowing eyes, kind of like a cat. So in the darkness, you can now see the moose kind of like lurking in the distance. So at this point, we're doing pretty good. You know, we got a lot of things going on. We got the models, we got the forest, we got the moose, we got all that. But we're missing something. The game. There's no way to win. There's no way to lose. There's no like murder or anything like that. It's not really scary because of that. So we need to get that done. First thing we need to do to get this game actually playable is, and that is time. So yeah, I didn't finish. And as you can see, I don't have much to show for it. I didn't even finish the main gameplay of the game, and there's no like UI, there's no sound, there's no scary jump scares, there's no spooky music. I don't know. There's nothing. It's barren and boring. But I'm not really that surprised, seeing as this is my first time. So yeah, that's that. I think I spent way too much time tinkering and doing a bunch of things. I was having maybe too much fun. I needed to really lock in and grind it out. I don't know. I think one thing I should probably do next time is make the game first and then try to make all the models and stuff, just so I can have something that's actually playable in the end. As it turns out, it's a lot of work and a lot of things that go into making a game. I knew this, but obviously I wanted to, you know, give my first time a good go. If you got clickbaited by the title and really thought I was gonna win my jam with no experience at all, I don't really feel bad for you, because like, come on. Anyways, I'm not sure when this is getting uploaded, but I'm gonna be entering the Pirate Software Jam coming up in January. And if you wanna see that, you know, like the video, subscribe, all that stuff. In the time up until that jam, I'm gonna be practicing, honing my skills, learning a bunch of new stuff so that I don't have to learn it in the middle of the jam like I did this time. This was attempt number 1, kind of a failure, but that's all right. We're learning, we're gonna keep going, baby. We're gonna win these eventually. But yeah, let me know what y'all think. I'm sorry you can't play my game. I know it looks really fun, but that's about it from me. See ya.